Alright, hello everyone. First off, I want to start up the video by saying, no, you are not crazy. This is titled the second whiskey tasting. I did film a first one a couple weeks ago. You're not going to find it on YouTube. When I did record it, I had technical difficulties transferring it over to my computer. At the time, my iPad and my computer were both overflowing, and I lost the information, so the video disappeared. I do have a write-up on Facebook of the last whiskey tasting, which I'll throw a link to in this video. I will recap the first video real quick. So this started off, initially, I had tasted Pappy Van Winkle at a bar in Omaha, Nebraska, about 2 or 3 months ago now. And first off, Pappy Van Winkle is delicious. I normally don't care for bourbon very much. I really enjoy Pappy, and it's really difficult when you find something you enjoy that's very, very rare and hard to find. So I talked at length with the bartender, and he explained to me one of the reasons I probably liked Pappy Van Winkle versus other bourbons is the fact that instead of being finished with rye, Pappy is a whiskey that's finished with wheat instead. So, for those of you that don't know, to be a bourbon, the whiskey needs to be made primarily with corn. So 51% of the fermentable material needs to be corn. And traditionally, most American bourbons are then finished with rye. Rye gives it kind of that spicy, peppery flavor, for lack of a better term. And instead of being finished with rye, Pappy Van Winkle is finished with wheat. And I don't know if it has rye in it, but the wheat makes it a little sweeter, softens it a little bit. I enjoyed it a lot. So in an attempt to try to find something that I enjoyed that's more drinkable and more easy to find, I went out and bought a selection of wheated bourbons. This is what I tasted last time. The Old Weller Antique 107. This was my top choice out of the ones I tasted. It has the same proof as Pappy Van Winkle, the 107, which is very strong. Some people might not enjoy the alcohol burn that has associated with it. I liked it quite a bit. Maker's Mark is a pretty popular bourbon. This is wheated as well, and I enjoyed this one quite a bit. That was my second choice. Third, there's Maker's 46. Maker's 46 is probably the better choice in between the standard Maker's Mark and the 46. The 46 is finished with some charred oak staves, which gives it kind of more of a smoky Scotch type flavor. It's really good. It tastes very busy compared to the Maker's Mark, so I very slightly like the regular Maker's Mark more, except if you add old limestone water, splash that to the 46, it really opens the flavor up, makes it a little more easy to appreciate the complexity of it. So with the caveat of the old limestone water, that made the Maker's 46 my favorite choice. I don't have a bottle of it here, but I also tried Larceny, which is a wheated bourbon. Did not like Larceny at all, to be honest. It was very harsh, so I didn't go out and repurchase that. So today, this video is going to focus on trying to find something that is drinkable as well as relatively inexpensive. Basically the quest for a good daily drinking whiskey. And for my choices, I tried to find whiskeys that were below $40 in price. I came up with Evan Williams single barrel. This is a 2006. Every year Evan Williams makes a batch of single barrel whiskey. I've never tried it before. It reviews very well everywhere I've read it, so I'm very curious to try that one. I tried Maker's Mark cask strength. This is the undiluted, straight from the cask, supposedly Maker's Mark. It is 111.3 proof, so this is going to have some alcohol burn to it. This is not technically a bourbon. This is Bernheim's. It is a wheat whiskey. It does not have 51% corn as the fermentable material, so therefore it cannot be called a bourbon. I've read very positive reviews of this as well. And I've never tried Buffalo Trace before, but I got a half bottle relatively cheap. Speaking of half bottles, the Maker's Mark cask strength, this is the half bottle itself is almost $40. So this is kind of a cheat as far as the criteria that I named. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to try drinking all these. Alright, first up I'll be trying the Buffalo Trace, which is this half bottle. Kind of it's got a decent color to it, a little pale. Definitely smell the alcohol. It's not bad. Definitely not what I would call a great whiskey. So let's move on to the next one. All right, for the sake of experimenting, I put a little bit of water in the Buffalo Trace to see how that affects the flavor before I finished it. Still surprisingly harsh. All right, next up we have the Maker's Mark Cask Strength. This is a little darker color than the Buffalo Trace. And interestingly enough, despite having a much higher alcohol content, this is over 111 proof, and the Buffalo Trace was 90 proof. This doesn't have quite a strong alcohol smell to it. It actually has a little bit of a sweet smell to it. That is surprisingly smooth for over 100 proof. I like this one. Alright, this is the cask strength Maker's Mark again. Put a splash of water this time to see how it affects the flavor. No real significant change in the flavor. Kind of draws out the aftertaste, which is interesting. Alright, so next up I'm going to taste the Evan Williams single barrel. This, as I said, this is a 2006, and this is kind of interesting. It has the barreled on date, which was July 12, 2006, barrel number 39, and bottled on April 2nd of 2015. And it is 43.3% alcohol, or 86.6 proof. Has a nice amber color, probably about the same as the Maker's Mark, a little bit darker than the Buffalo Trace. I like the smell. Has kind of a sweet overtone to it. That's interesting. You can definitely taste the wood. More complex than I was expecting. Let's try it with a little bit of water in it. Not bad. Alright, so move on finally to the Bernheim. This looks like it's the darkest of the whiskeys. Definitely has a much more different smell, being all wheat instead of a bourbon. You can smell the alcohol. And what's the proof on this one? I'm either blind or they hit it. Oh, 90 proof. There we go. Alright, so let's see how this one tastes. I like that. Again, similar to the Evan Williams, I can definitely taste the wood. It's not a charred oak, so it doesn't have that smoky flavor, but it's quite good. Alright, here's the Bernheim with a splash of water in it. Mills the flavor a bit. Alright, so if I was going to rank these from best to worst, I would actually say the Maker's Mark Cask Strength, surprisingly, is my favorite out of the batch. I didn't expect to like this one as much due to the high proof. I assumed it to be harsher than it actually went down. The Bernheim and Evan Williams, having a hard time choosing between these two, both really good. I probably will give the edge to the Bernheim. And I probably will try the Evan Williams single cask next year, because there's a new bottling every year. And coming in at a distant fourth is the Buffalo Trace. I would not suggest this as your daily drinker. Possibly use it for mixing. Not a spectacular whiskey. Alright, so if you guys liked the video, go ahead and click like or subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Until next time.